revealing my $1 million crypto portfolio. In this video, I'm going to talk about each and every altcoin that I hold in my portfolio and the percentage of my crypto portfolio that each of these coins makes up. Hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now, right now, I'm holding 10% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. At times it's been more, at times it's been less. And why do I hold 10% of Bitcoin? Well, because Bitcoin has pulled back more recently. When it does that, the altcoins pull back aggressively. When they've pulled back aggressively, you want to be more into altcoins, in my personal opinion, not financial advice, than you are into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, however, when the markets are strong, is a good place for you to take money out of altcoins and into Bitcoin. Typically because when Bitcoin dumps towards the downside, like it did on August the 5th, you only saw a 33% sell-off from all-time highs. Only 33%, compared with some altcoins that were down about 70, 80, maybe even 90% at that point. But because I'm incredibly bullish as we enter into Q4, I want to be more into the altcoins, the more risky assets. Now, my price prediction for Bitcoin, probably somewhere up to around $175,000 at kind of all-time high levels. I don't think it's going to get anywhere near there until later on next year. And yes, I've heard people say $1 million. I've heard people say $150,000, and who knows exactly where it's going to head. But I want to give you price predictions for each of these coins. Now, the second coin I hold in my portfolio, you probably realized. I personally hold 20% in Sui, which is my biggest bag in crypto. This is when I told you that I moved my Solana into Sui, and I did that about 2 weeks ago. And those of you who have subscribed to my channel, around that time that video went live, made nearly 112% recently. Currently, prices pull back to around 87%. And this has been the trade that's allowed me to bring you my $1 million crypto portfolio rather than my $600 and something thousand crypto portfolio. Because not only did I buy Sui, but I also used 3x leverage on that position, which was a hugely risky move, and I don't recommend it, but it's paid off in a massive, massive way. Now, Sui, I was actually holding around 30% of my portfolio in until just a couple of days ago. When I started to see that Sui was outperforming massively the rest of the market, I took 5% away, put it in another layer one, and I put some money back into Bitcoin just to kind of hedge my bets. I still hold massive amounts of Sui, 20%, remember. So why so much Sui? Well, because if you look at DeFiLlama.com, Sui currently has a market cap of $4.7 billion, which is big, okay? It's not massive, but it's big enough to give me safety should the market pull back. If the market pulls back, that's not going to go down too much because it's been stabilized. But Solana, a much bigger layer one, is currently valued somewhere around $65 billion, has been valued around $80 billion in the past. I anticipate that Sui has the potential to get to $80 billion. Why? Because the volume on Sui is absolutely bonkers. You can see the volume on Sui is at all-time highs. And for layer ones, which of course Sui is, you want to be heading towards chains that are getting used. Don't focus too much in on this has superior tech and this is a better project, because it's BS, okay? Focus in on coins that people are building on. Sui apparently is a very easy platform to build on. Sui is an ecosystem, and from the tech side of things, is ultra fast, has really decent tech behind it. But most importantly, the most important thing of all, volume. You can see the volume today, over $1.2 billion. Ludicrous. Right, come down below, you can see all the projects that are being built on Sui. All of these new projects that come in, people are now starting to use, they're going up in value, and this is all feeding back into the Sui ecosystem, because to be able to get involved in these different platforms and protocols, you have to buy the Sui token. It upsets the supply and demand model. It's not about anything other than this. This is why Sui is going up, and it will continue to go up until the volume and the TVL and whatever tell me anything different. Also, it's backed by the likes of Raoul Pal, probably one of the biggest crypto influencers on the planet. He's talking about Sui. Therefore, I want to be in projects that massive influencers are talking about, because they're going to get more exposure. Now, next project, and it's one that I did take some Sui profits and move back into, which of course is controversial, and there'll be like Sui maxis who are like, you're a traitor and all this other stuff, but I don't really care. It's fine. Let me know how you're really feeling down below, okay? If this content in any way upsets you, please reach out, see if I can help you. But anyway, where did I move my money back to? Of course, back to Solana. Why did I do that move? Everyone was like, why are you selling your Solana? You're an idiot, okay? You moved from Solana to Sui. Why would you then move back from Solana? Well, because in that period of time where Sui went up like 100%, Solana has been going up like 18% and is currently pretty much flat. So it's a good trade, wasn't it? Yeah? Good trade. Now I can move some of that money. I took a big risk in Sui back to Solana. Now, I don't recommend you doing this all the time, okay? I don't recommend you chopping and changing. But if you can understand all the things I'm going to teach you about paying attention to the data, if suddenly I wake up tomorrow and the volume on SUI is way, way down, then maybe I would get all my SUI position out. I have no attachment to any of this. Look at the data. The data is telling you what to buy and hold. Don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to anyone. Just look at the data. It's so easy. And everyone's there like, oh yeah, but it's going to have huge unlocks. Huge unlocks aren't a bad thing in a bull market. Huge unlocks tell you that the massive VCs are backing them. Massive VCs invest massive capital during the up phase of the market. They inject the liquidity in. What do you think causes coins to go up $2 billion in a day in market cap? It's the VCs pumping that money in. It's not a bunch of punters sat on YouTube investing like $1,000 after a video like this. Okay, it's the VCs inject money in. The unlocks will come, but people will continue to hold those unlocks until after the bull market. Only 30% of tokens are going to be unlocked in SUI before the end of the bull market. SUI's up over 100% in a week. That's 3 times bigger than the unlocks. Get over it, because it's probably wrong. Anyway, because Solana's been underperforming, I now think it's better value again, okay? So you can see it's now creating this kind of triangle-y pattern, whatever you want to call it, okay? It's actually a descending triangle, but I would anticipate Solana somewhere around here, okay, is pretty good value. Under around 140 bucks, okay? Somewhere in this pocket is pretty good value. Why? Because, guys, Solana is being built on massively. Loads of deep-in projects that are performing really well are built on Solana, like Render. Loads of DeFi projects are also performing well, being built on Solana. Solana is a very good chain. It has some really good tech, and people are utilizing its technology to be able to build ultra-fast, ultra-competitive projects. If those projects are continuing to do well, Solana will do well because of it. Also, meme coins. Typically, there are meme coins moving around, like there are on SUI right now, going crazy. But meme coins on Solana, also a good hedge, so that when the markets underperform, meme coins tend to do better. You'll notice I won't hold any meme coins in my portfolio, but Solana does well when meme coins are also doing well. Now, I've told you before, I think Solana maybe has about a 5x in it, okay? Somewhere up to around 900 bucks is my bet on Solana right now. Now, I better quickly rattle through these. I've also got 5% in TON, and I do that because the volume on TON's still pretty good. TVL did take a big dip and is up a bit, but it's the native blockchain for Telegram. Telegram has 900 million active users worldwide. It makes sense to me that TON users will now start to be able to access different things through Telegram, like different games and other things like that. They're going to start to interact with crypto without even knowing they're interacting with crypto. Because the Telegram founder got put in jail the other day in France, the price of TON absolutely dumped, making it a good undervalued bet in my opinion. TON currently sits there with a big market cap, $13 billion. Can I see it doing a 10x? There is a potential, but I think more like a 7 to 8x. But I still want to hold some of this. Remember, holding big market cap coins isn't necessarily a bad thing, because when the market moves lower, you're actually safe. Whereas if you're holding small cap altcoins and the market dumps, you get absolutely destroyed. You might have realized that, okay? So it's good to have a kind of a balance across for kind of risk versus reward. Okay, that's kind of it for the layer ones, but there is a layer one that crosses over with AI that I've got recently into as well, and that is Near Protocol. Well, why am I holding Near? Guys, Near is very closely linked with NVIDIA, which is the world's biggest AI company, currently ranked 3rd in the world. Every time AI does really well, so does Near Protocol. Near Protocol has kind of integrated AI into a blockchain system, which has been really cool. It's a unique spin on a layer one, has a fantastic team who were responsible for writing papers that have kind of led to the surge of AI. NVIDIA, I think, is going to continue to go up as that monetary supply continues to go up over the next kind of year and a half. And I think AI is still going to be a big winner in this bull market. Therefore, Near Protocol. Next up, Tau Potenza. Now, there is a bit of a thing with AI in crypto. A lot of these AI projects are kind of like building kind of cool AI stuff, but not necessarily linking it very cleverly with blockchain. And maybe you could say that Tau Potenza is kind of one of those. But again, every time AI surges, so does Tau Potenza. So I've got 2% I currently hold in Tau. And I've been kind of adding to that position through this kind of zone through here. Basically, anywhere in this kind of zone down here, I've been happily adding to it. Now, if AI continues to push higher and higher, there's a good chance that I will start to de-risk out of AI into another narrative. It might be deep in, it might be Bitcoin sidechains, it might be whatever's showing data. I'm getting where I'm going with this. Whatever's showing data about where this move is happening. Okay, Tau Potenza, 2%. Now, on to the next one, and I know a phenomenally popular coin, Internet Computer, or ICP. And I've got 3% in this. Why have I got ICP? Well, ICP, as you can see, is starting to build AI directly onto the blockchain. A lot of the problems you're seeing with the development of other AI projects is they're not that closely linked to blockchains. But it's important to note this. ICP doesn't hold a bigger portion of my portfolio, and that's strictly because there's not that much being built on the Internet Computer right now. Therefore, there's not that many people using Internet Computer right now other than just buying and holding tokens. That's perfectly fine. I think it will still do quite well because of AI interaction and things like that. But I'm having this as a bet because ICP is backed by a really pretty impressive team. And I do think that they're going to have a bright future. So I think they're going to see much more exposure. Lots of people on YouTube and everything seem to like ICP. I do think this is one to watch. It did have a pretty damn healthy pullback, but because of this kind of like volume and excitement behind ICP, you can see that there's a good chance that we see that again. Again, not holding a huge percentage in this, but I would anticipate maybe a 10x being a minimum for ICP from $8 right now. I do think there is potential to see a 15x, maybe a little bit more. People who are like, oh, it's the future of the internet. It might be, but it's not going to happen in time for this bull market to finish. Okay, so don't go and stake a bunch of ICP, because I think you're better off just holding some ICP, selling it somewhere near the top, waiting for the bear market, buying back into ICP, and it goes up for the next bull market. And that's how you make money. Okay, don't just stake for a 15% reward. Okay, because BS. ICP is down more than 15% like the last 2 days. 18%. Okay. Use your mind. Don't just listen to what you're told. Okay, so that gives me like an $80 to $100 price target. Now onto this other one that I talked about on an AI small caps video just the other day. And we were literally talking about it. It went up around 70% after that. Not because of my video, because AI was picking up as well. Now, AGI or Delesium, basically AI agents. AI agents being able to interact with things like the blockchain. They've created this really cool new app called Lucy, and you can interact with this assistant called Lucy. Delesium is a network of different AI agents connected together to be able to go and carry out different tasks, whether that might be buying into crypto, whether that might be giving you advice on crypto markets, whether it might be advice on where to buy the right pair of trainers, whatever it might be. Okay, imagine having an AI assistant in your pocket that can go and carry out tasks for you. It's not like Alexa who can, you know, maybe book something for you. Alexa can't go off and buy you crypto or buy you a new pair of shoes yet. This is kind of what we're seeing from AI agents. That's why I'm quite keen on AGI. Not only that, guys, look how it performed earlier on in the year. This is showing what happens to this particular coin when the markets are strong. It's a good indicator to what's going to happen to this coin during this particular bull market as things get going again. I currently hold 3% of this. Now, next up, TARS AI or TAI. Now, I currently hold 2% of my portfolio in TAI, okay? Why do I do that? Well, TARS Protocol is backed by the Solana Foundation. Again, working on AI agents. I've seen big improvements recently into their AI agents, their website, and everything else. They have a very active community, and as well, they're very aggressively marketing out there. Okay, so in the past, I've worked with TARS AI on various different things. Now, I know TARS as well are very active out there trying to promote their token. They've been spending a huge budget on marketing, but also they've been offering lots of things like OTC deals. I've seen people exposing an OTC deal that they did recently on Twitter. Now, it made me ask two questions. One, where's my OTC deal? OTC deal, effectively, guys, is where an influencer, like myself, gets offered to be able to buy a 20 grand or whatever of a particular coin in return for a 20-30% discount. Now, you might think that's unfair, but then obviously as an influencer, I'm expected to then go and talk about a particular project to be able to give it more exposure as an investor in the project. And it makes sense that I would give it exposure if I'd been invested in it from this point of view. Okay? And you're like, oh, I don't like that. But here's why you should probably get over that. If lots of big influencers out there are getting an OTC deal for any particular coin, then all those influencers are going to be out there shilling that project, pushing that project, talking about it quite often. This is just good marketing, in my opinion. It's a smart thing to do. When I have my own crypto project, which is going to be launching sometime in November, I will also conduct things like KOL rounds and whatever to try and drive my project forward. And I'd say that 99% of projects out there have been doing similar kind of things more recently. Therefore, I think this is an interesting project, has very big backers in terms of influencers, decent VCs, backed by Solana Foundation, working on solid AI tech, which is obviously going to see some growth, was performing very strongly up until a couple of days ago. Obviously, the market sold off and then a pullback. You can see again, price action since when it launched back in June has been actually really solid, actually better sort of price action perhaps than Aether. This is going to show how I think this might go forward. Again, this is a much smaller market cap play. I could anticipate that maybe with a smaller market cap, 20 to 30x is possible, but obviously smaller caps, be more cautious because the downside, when you get downside, can be a bit more brutal. But you can see the lower end of this, somewhere around 10 cents, seems to be where the bottoms go in. And then from there, we can anticipate maybe going higher. It does look like we had a break and a retest of this triangle, and I would anticipate moving up from here. Now, as we go through this video, you're probably realizing there is a huge amount of things to know in crypto, and it can be really overwhelming. And that's why we created the Moon House, which is linked down below in the description. The Moon House is myself and two other full-time crypto experts who are sharing a day-to-day knowledge of different coins and things that we're buying into. A lot of the coins we talked about in this video have come from the other experts in this group who've been kind of educated educating me on the cryptos that they've been investing in, and I've made huge gains from it, okay? Sui was actually something that was brought to me by someone else in the group talking about the different transaction volume and things like that. Also, once per week, we do live calls like you're seeing here with myself and the 2 other experts going over the different charts and things that you see in crypto. You can see they're actually going over Sui in this particular video here. We have one of these live calls, maybe sometimes 2 of these live calls every single week, talking about all the different coins we'd be getting into. There's tabs you can ask different questions, and I myself and the other experts are responding on a daily basis. I will also update in that group live every single time I make a change to my current portfolio. So if you want to be able to access all of the changes that I'm making to my current portfolio as we go through, then make sure you sign up to the Moonhouse, link down below in the description. You can go and pay through this page here over on WOT. Now on to my favorite narrative of all in crypto, and that is DePIN, Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. Why is it my favorite? Well, I can see it being utilized. It's something that's actually going to be useful. A lot of stuff in crypto doesn't make sense to me. Probably doesn't to you, but I see people using these different things. My top choice is Aether. I've talked about Aether before, and full disclaimer, I took part in an Aether node sale for which I earn commissions from Aether. So yes, I have received payments in the past from Aether, but it's a project I work with because it's one of the best out there. Why? Well, because they provide decentralized compute power for AI development. Right now, there's a huge bottleneck in AI development, and it's all centered around costs of compute power, not being able to get enough compute power to be able to build your project. Aether has already done $36 million in revenue this year, which is amazing because at the end of last year, all of the different AI compute projects like Akash and Render and whatever else, between them all made only $20 million last year. Aether's already done more than that this year and is increasing by 10% month on month. Aether is producing huge amounts of value to actual people out there and actual projects. And that's why it's an interesting project as far as I'm concerned. Also, when I was in Singapore Token 24, all the AI projects that I talked to were all utilizing Aether to provide their compute power. Yes, there's big unlocks to come for Aether, but they're also not going to come until after the bull market, with most of the supply still going to be locked up until then, which is good enough for me, who does 10 hours of crypto research every single day. So hopefully it's good enough for you as well. Now, Aether currently sat around 5 cents. I do believe that this is a potential for a 20x coin. Yes, you might be like, oh, big unlocks. Guys, forget it, okay? Circulating supply is quite small right now. I think from that circulating supply, you're going to see a 20x. Fairly straightforward, okay? So Aether, potential to get to $1 during this bull market. I might be wrong. Let's see how the market goes, and then we'll update this portfolio as time goes on. But you can see during this period of time when most of the other market launched, when lots of coins launched and died off pretty aggressively, Aether has actually held its own pretty well. So I do kind of anticipate seeing upside in this. Now, next project that I'm going to talk about, and one that I've been talking about for quite a long time, and that's AIOZ or AOZ. AOZ basically benefits from being linked with AI and being linked with DePIN, and as a project has seen a huge amount of development and growth since its launch back in the last bull market. Back in the last bull market, you saw it managed to get some good exposure. Obviously, went through a bear market like most cryptos, and then you can see it seeing real growth during the early phase of this year. And this early growth in the early phase of this year has me very bullish about the potential for this happening again. Again, you can see this very long kind of funnel pattern now has bounced up, broken into the 50% range, now starting to push higher. I do think that AOZ is a very, very interesting play. It's a very popular coin out there. Also has DePIN functions in the decentralized compute, but there's also working to build like decentralized platforms like kind of YouTube, but decentralized YouTube, integrating AI and things like that. So many cool things that they're working on. Really bright future, in my opinion, similar to how ICP has it. And for that one, I hold 2%. Next up, and a coin that was very popular in the last bull market is Helium. Why was it popular? Well, again, DePIN project, but basically allow people to buy Helium miners. Helium miners were effectively wireless network adapters. So you would be able to put one of these in your house and people will be able to access wireless or Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G from the people around who are basically putting these different adapters out. You then, as the owner of one of these things, earns a reward. Helium and DePIN are getting huge exposure right now because people are actually actively using the Helium network. You can see that Helium has seen very good pushes earlier on this year. It had a good sell-off, and then it's seen another very good push, second phase here. Again, project built on Solana, seeing some good growth with the Solana ecosystem. Helium, I'm incredibly bullish on, basically deep in projects, having exposure to deep in. There's so many deep in projects out there, and there are, of course, other ones I don't hold that could also do really well. I just quite liked Helium because of what it was kind of working on and how it's kind of gathering exposure, and also how it's been performing more recently. So that's a 2% in there. Now, the next asset class is real world assets. It's a no-brainer as to why real world assets are going to do well, okay? You've got BlackRock investing heavily in tokenization of assets. They partnered up with Ondo, although I don't hold Ondo. You've got other massive companies around the world kind of partnering up with these tokenization of asset platforms. These platforms as well are getting huge exposure. You're going to go to DeFi Llama and look at platforms like Ondo, and you can see that Ondo, in terms of TVL, just continues to rise all the time. Despite that, you see the market cap kind of going up and down. TVL is one indicator of how successful a project is in the real world asset kind of area. This is a very good thing to follow. Now, I've decided not to be in Ondo because it's kind of more of the obvious play. It's in BlackRock kind of linked up. Maybe that's a stupid thing to do, I'm not sure. So instead, I hold 3% in Mantra OM. Basically, again, huge growth in TVL showing here. Market cap still $1 billion. Again, you're not going to see much more than like a 15 to 20x in this, but I'm quite happy to have exposure as my lower risk real world asset play. Now, next real world asset one, Maple Finance. Why do I hold this? Market cap 133 million, significantly smaller than Mantra, making it a slightly higher risk, but you can see TVL just continues to surge towards the upside. You can see fees that they're generating also kicking in here. You can see in general the kind of overall performance of this platform looking strong. They're also partnered up with $1 trillion firm, not BlackRock like Ondo is, but also something worthwhile knowing. Maple Finance, therefore, I think has the potential to go 20 to maybe even 30x during this bull market. Now, another one worth looking into, guys, again, because it basically holds all the kind of positive things that like OM Mantra does and Ondo does, which is kind of like growing TVL, kind of huge partnerships with big firms, basically having people utilizing borrowing and lending platforms, but still maintains a small market cap, is Clearpool Finance, currently $74 million. And again, I hold 2% in this. Now, obviously, you've seen by now, I don't really hold it in Ethereum. Okay, Ethereum just doesn't seem to be performing that well against other layer ones out there. Maybe it will at some point, but right now, it seems to have been a good bet on my part. However, I do think that like layer 2s and things like that might see a bit of growth. So I do have some exposure to Metis DAO. Also because Metis seems to be working towards some kind of meme coin incubator program, which is also very interesting to me. Maybe like see some exposure like Tron got. So I do hold 2% in Metis. Also, that gives me a bit of exposure to DeFi, should DeFi have another good run like it did in the last bull market. So that's basically why I'm holding on to that 2% there. Also in DeFi, that gives me exposure to another chain, which is Base Network. DeFi, I'm holding Aerodrome Finance, again offering kind of like a DeFi platform that's going to benefit from DeFi. Also Base, it makes sense that Base might see some significant upside during this bull market because it's the native chain of Coinbase. And Coinbase is typically the first exchange that many of you go and use when you first sign up for crypto because it's so much easier to use and they invest a load of money in marketing. However, personally, I never use Coinbase anymore. Apart from when I first ever bought like 0.1 Bitcoin, okay, over on Coinbase, I've never used Coinbase because it's incredibly expensive. Not only is it incredibly expensive, but also they have very limited number of coins. Therefore, if you want a much cheaper exchange with many more different crypto coins, then use my link down below for Bitunix. Also, I partnered up with Bitunix to be able to offer people who sign up through my link down below various different airdrops. Okay, so if you want to get on this platform, start actively using it, trading different crypto coins, of which I've asked them to go and list as many as the ones I've talked about in this video as possible, then go across to Bitunix, guys. No KYC required, no VPN required, so no matter where you are in the world, you can use this exchange. We're adding new coins to it all the time. If you want them to add new coins to it, then list them down below, guys. We'll add those coins as well. Okay, sales pitch over. On to the next one. Category. Gaming. I'm just going to rattle through these. I've got Superverse, 4% in Superverse. Why? Well, it's basically all gaming projects out there are chasing Superverse, trying to link up with them. It's an ecosystem based around gaming. Each individual game may or may not do well, but Superverse linking all these different games together is likely going to do extremely well. It's also founded by Elio Trades, who's probably one of the biggest gaming influencers. Also happens to be quite good mates with Alex Becker, who obviously shills the crap out of this project every time he gets a chance, and that's obviously bullish. So that's why I'm in Superverse. I think Superverse can do 20x, maybe even 30x. I still think gaming is going to be a very bullish narrative in this bull market. Also, I have exposure to Beam, another ecosystem, broad brush across crypto, 4% in Beam, although it might be slightly less because it crashed hard yesterday, and also 4% in Echelon Prime. Echelon Prime, basically AI agents for gaming. They have a couple of games coming out soon. This is something that has me kind of bullish on where that might head. Okay, so 4% for each of those 3 gaming platforms that all have broad exposure to gaming. Again, I think each of them have the potential to do 20 to 30x each. Maybe more, maybe less. Let's see. I also then have 1% in Octo Gaming, and that's because it's a small cap gaming platform, again backed by Solana Foundation, but has 30,000 active users. It's like little casual gaming on phones, which is pretty cool, and yeah, that's why I have exposure to that. Solana backed, seems to be doing quite well on the charts. I have 1%, but it's kind of like a higher risk play for maybe heading towards a 50x, okay? If you want 50x's, 100x's, then go with smaller percentages. I know you don't want to hear that, okay? I know you want to ape all in to one of these, but don't do it, okay? Also hold 1% in Carrot, which I talked about on this gaming video that I made the other day. So go and check that out after this if you want to find out more about gaming projects. Now on to the next one. It's obvious when any particular chain is doing quite well that people want to go and trade on that particular chain, and they don't want to do it through centralized exchanges. Therefore, I do think that there is going to be potential for Avalanche to see some further growth. Pangolin is a DEX on Avalanche. In the past, it performed extremely well. We called it, and then it did a 47x back last year. This is my exposure for now to Avalanche, which doesn't seem to be showing much in terms of growth, but let's see where that goes. I've also got 2% in Cetus, which is a DEX over on Sui. I talked about that on the Sui video that I made the other day. It's obvious, guys. Remember, people trade on those coins in that particular chain that's doing well. Obviously, right now, the volume on Sui is really high, therefore the DEX is a pretty obvious play. I also hold 2 Launchpad tokens. Launchpads tend to do well when chains are doing well, so obviously I hold a Solana Launchpad, which is Seedify, also focused quite closely towards gaming and stuff like that. Solana will have a run again when that happens. And when chains are doing well, lots of projects want to launch them. People are looking for new projects on those particular chains. Okay, it's no-brainer. Seedify, probably a decent pick. Again, Alex Becker seems to be pushing this all the time as well. So obviously he's working with them, probably got his OTC deal. Sounds good to me. Also, I talked about one the other day for Sui, which is a really small cap launchpad over on Sui. It's like less than 2 mil. Okay, I think this is going to be a potential to see a 50x. It can do like a 50 to maybe even 100x if the bull market goes crazy and people start utilizing this launchpad on Sui, and Sui remains the key layer 1 player. Also, I still hold 1% in Ordinals or Ordi and 1% in BVM, okay, Bitcoin, a virtual machine. You will notice that it's a lot smaller than a percentage that I used to hold in BVM. That's because it hasn't been performing that well. I had to take a bit of a loss on that, and then I used some of the money to invest back into stuff that's showing a more bullish price action. But I still continue to hold BVM, so I keep my eye on what's going on. They still have been developing like crazy, and I will look to move money back into BVM once kind of Bitcoin side chains and that kind of stuff starts to pick up again, Bitcoin layer 2 stuff. There will be times for each of these different narratives to flourish. Now, obviously, guys, every coin I've talked about, you need to go out there and do your own research into them, okay? Don't just go and ape into anything that I've talked about. I want you to understand that there's different ways to look into these coins and see where the value is, and hopefully this has helped you throughout. Make sure as well that you subscribe to the channel. Each and every day, I will be bringing you videos telling you why I'm now moving into this narrative or that narrative and showing you the real data. People who've been following more recently have been making huge gains on Sui, etc. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also, guys, if you got value in today's video, which has taken me a very long time to make, then please smash that like button, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.